Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Comic Book Wednesday. This is a shared event, something that I've been doing for years with Michael K. Vaughan, where he picks a comic book subject or character or a run, and we talk about it on Wednesdays. And this Wednesday is a quintessential Michael K. Vaughan pick. It's Robert E. Howard, but not Conan. It's this from the 1970s. It's Kull the Conqueror from Marvel Comics. Uh, a comic book adaptation of Robert E. Howard's other really great character, who I first met in this book. This little thing with a fold-out poster there that I never actually used as a poster. This is it's entirely possible to collect all of the Kull stories in a book that small. Uh, Once Conan took off, and once Conan took over Robert E. Howard's creative mind, uh, Kull just wouldn't do it anymore. They are very similar characters. Kull was, in many ways, a prototype for Conan. He's an outcast from the kingdom of Atlantis. He's a barbarian who becomes everything in his own day. He's an arena fighter and a pirate and a fugitive and an outlaw and a thief and a reaver and a slayer. He's all of those things, just like Conan, and he does eventually, just like Conan, ascend to the throne of a great kingdom, the kingdom of Valusia. King Kull, as he becomes, lives long, long before Conan. It takes quite a bit of time travel shenanigans for any later author to have them meet up. It often happens, but it's a special occasion. And Marvel decided on the back of the success of their Conan the Barbarian to give Kull a chance. I wish they'd given Kull more of a chance, or that this character had been as lucky as Conan in the original creators. We could have had the adventures of Kull go on for years. And instead, that didn't happen. There is a huge hardcover omnibus edition of this that I'm assuming Michael K. Vaughan has. In fact, I think I've seen it on his channel, with big tigers on the cover. And there's a tiger on the cover here of issue number 1, because the tiger is Kull's animal totem, spirit animal, I guess would be the term, that aids him and signifies his soul and whatnot. Because although Kull comes to the throne of Valusia, it's not an easy reign, obviously. I mean, he's an outsider. He comes to the throne by killing the previous king. So that leads to unrest. And that's the story of the first issue here, is that unrest. That's also the story of a pretty effective Kull short story by Robert E. Howard. This is A King Comes Riding, where we get this opening panorama of Kull marching into the city. The artwork here is by Ross Andru, who's really not cut out for epic fantasy type stuff, Kull or Conan or anybody. But it's loaded with other artwork. Marie Severin has a hand in this first issue. Wally Wood has a hand in this first issue. So it's Ross Andru, definitely. Like, for instance, here you can definitely see that, if you know what to look for, you can definitely see that is Ross Andru artwork. But it's tempered almost to the point of unrecognizability, as Kull deals with subterranean currents of rebellion in his kingdom, specifically a small group of rebels who have decided to band together and bring his reign to an end. That sounds very similar to the Phoenix on the Sword. Yeah, it's the same story. And that's what we get in this first issue. We get a brief synopsis of Kull's origin story, and there is the tiger motif again. And we get a great one-page visual summary of all the kinds of adventures that Kull has before he comes to the throne. That's really good stuff. And we get the climactic fight where the rebels corner him alone, and it's just as satisfying as the version in Conan we get, and Kull is victorious just like Conan is, and he again is swearing his superiority on the basis of his tiger totem. Then we move on to issue number 2, which does have a big difference because Ross Andru is gone from the artwork, and instead we have John and Marie Severin, brother and sister, John and Marie Severin, who do the artwork completely now, and their artwork is something to treasure. It really is amazing. Let me show you a couple of really good examples here. Here is a 3-panel sequence where Kull is sleeping. Look at how lovely that is. Just the sheer textured detail of those pages is just amazing. And that continues all throughout here. We get action sequences, but we also get these marvelously textured supernatural elements as Kull and Brule the Spear Slayer, his best friend and a warrior who's a retainer in his kingdom, face off against this murderous supernatural cult. And Kull has that. He has a whole bunch of things that Conan doesn't have. I've always found that Kull is actually more interesting than Conan. Even for the little amount of stories that we get, Conan is the current phrase is a murder hobo. For most of the stories that we get, Robert E. Howard plunks us down in one place or another where Conan is, and we get an adventure. And when you adapt that to the comic books, you get even more of that. But Kull has a place. He's not... readers have very little interest in stories of his time as a pirate or a gladiator or whatnot. He has a place. He is already king. He's only in his mid-30s, so he's not an old man. But he has a place. He has things that ground him other than just booty or a monster up in the hills or a rogue sorcerer of the week. And he has a few other things that Conan doesn't have. And I guess readers of weird tales and whatnot just didn't want it because they gave Conan the success that this character never got. One of the other main things he has that Conan doesn't have is friends. Conan doesn't have any friends at any point in his life. Women, sure, including women that I guess he sort of kind of cares about, maybe a son that he sort of kind of cares about, but otherwise no. The closest that the character Conan gets to a friend is in the comic books, not the stories. And I guess that would be Red Sonja, who's not even present in the books, in the stories. Whereas Kull has friends. Brule is his friend. Kull has a small coterie of advisors, and some of them are friends of his. They bring to the mosaic of the relationship things that Kull himself does not have. That's crucial. That's, to my mind, for good drama, that's crucial. You've got to have interpersonal conflict. And the interpersonal conflict has to be about more than whether or not a local brigand chief pays you what he promised to pay you. There is definitely magic in the Conan stories, absolutely. But I think there's more of the building blocks of actual drama in the Kull stories. Not only has friends, he also has an enemy, which Conan famously does not have. He has all sorts of enemies. He has all sorts of people. It's not hard to tell at the beginning of any Conan story who his enemy in that story will be. And it's also not hard to guess what their fate will be. But Kull has an enemy, Thulsa Doom, who's terrific. I mean, and there are all sorts of other... there's politics here. There's international politics or interkingdom politics, but also the internecine politics of Kull's own kingdom, just begging to be fleshed out. And the idea here is that by random chance, this barbarian child, this tiger totem child, is not only physically able to carve the crown of the king off King Borna's head and put it on his own, but is a better man. That's That's, I think, the guiding ethos of the Kull stories is that a worthy man ascends to the throne. We don't really know what kind of a king Conan would be. I myself think he wouldn't be a very good one. But with Kull, the little that we get in these stories uh, is of a more fleshed out individual, more of a thinker, more of a planner. So I was sorry, I was happy when Marvel did Kull, and they did Kull again after this series with gorgeous artwork. The other King Kull first issue that Marvel Comics did about a decade after this had a big extra sized full issue with gorgeous artwork by John Buscema, just amazing. I've shown it to you on this channel before. And probably those are collected too. I don't really know. Maybe that big hardcover anthology. I know there's at least one volume of a big hardcover anthology. Maybe that has everything. Maybe that has the first run, this run, the Marie Severin run of Kull, and the John Buscema run, which I think ran for 5 issues, maybe 4. There were longer issues. The first issue, I think, of Kull had no ads or anything. It was just a big full issue with a back and front cover. I'll have to fish it out. I should have fished it out for this video, but in that case too, in that second Marvel incarnation of Kull, again, the emphasis is on all the things that Conan doesn't have. Conan doesn't have a supporting cast. And supporting casts are really, really interesting. They're really good. They're not a frippery. They're a good element to fiction. Conan also doesn't usually have stakes involved other than his own purse or his own personal freedom. Whereas Kull is a king. The kingdom can be at stake. I think that it's a great potential that no one seems very interested in tapping. I think a great 500-page Kull novel done well would be amazingly good. Just amazingly good in very different ways than any Conan novel could be. But it was wonderful. It was a wonderful idea on Michael K. Vaughan's part to bring us back to this world. It was wonderful to see the Severins, really Marie Severin, who is absolutely great. To see the Severins, especially in the second issue, take over the artwork and just fill it with lovely non-superhero kinds of detail is just great, just fantastic, wonderful to revisit these. Again, I'm briefly tempted by the big omnibus issue, especially if I find out that it has all of Marvel's Kull, everything that they ever did with the character. But I probably won't. I'll probably resist. Those omnibus editions are just not comfortable to use. But anyway, that's our comic book for today. It is Marvel Comics' first go at the character of Kull, who has this little paperback isn't in print anymore, obviously, but the same publishing effort that did the 3 volumes of Conan, the canonical 3 volumes of Conan, also did a big volume of Kull that's well worth having, well worth finding. Every time I see it at the Brattle Bookshop, I grab it and mail it out to somebody. That's all the stories in their order of publication with illustrations and a really good introduction. But anyway, that's Marvel's first Kull, so that is our Comic Book Wednesday for today. I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll leave a link to Michael K. Vaughan's video, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.